All right, just a reminder of our topic of conversation this morning before we get into the dailies, and we are looking at the proposed integration of the KRA tax system with telcos, what Ruto's budget means for hustlers. Already with me in studio is Dr. Abraham Rugo Muriu. Let's now take a look at the dailies before we delve into that. Couples are going online and hiring private detectives to spy on each other. The Daily Nation describes it as a divorce crisis, and Kenyan households by marital status, and this is according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Those who were never married, 1,812,399. Those married are 8,460,227. Widowed, 981,379. Divorced or separated, 661,628. Marriage on the rocks. 1 in every 18 households in Kenya is headed by someone who's been divorced or separated, a 16% rise in a decade. A report by a government agency shows that the chances of a new union breaking are now even higher. Just what could be contributing to this sorry state of affairs? A special report on pages 2, 3 and 4 of the Daily Nation. Ruto warning as Raila digs in over 2022 poll. President William Ruto has dared Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga to lead demonstrations over the outcome of last year's presidential vote, warning he will not yield to blackmail. The president claimed that Mr. Odinga is determined to sabotage his administration's efforts to revive the economy. That is on page 5 of the Daily Nation. Was a KCSE exam stolen? Questions over high grades. Questions have emerged over the credibility of last year's Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education exams after some schools recorded a sudden rise in the number of candidates with straight A's, but Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashrugu refuted the cheating claims, insisting the exams were not leaked to favor certain schools. That is on page 10 and 11. Dollar crisis, fears over price hikes, shortages of basic goods, shortage of greenback, posing a threat to manufacturing and other short-sightedness coming in. Let me see. The local industries which rely on the U.S. currency to import key raw materials and inputs. And I will invite my panelist here because I feel like that is an area in which he is well versed. This fears over price hikes, shortages of basic goods. I went through the document we are going to be looking at this morning, which is the draft 2023 budget policy statement, and they did make reference to the economic situation in the U.S. and how that will impact Kenya's own performance. What do you make of this report?
No, I think one is that we live in a highly integrated economy globally, and therefore one is that you have goods that we import from other countries and that we export. Of course, what we export is largely, tea, coffee, and other raw materials that are used to produce. But we also import goods. But for the American case, it's interesting because a hike in prices in the American means that the hugest amount of remittances is from the US, and therefore it means that a lot of people, and as you saw, the remittances sometimes have a significant amount of the foreign exchange that comes into the country. Then it means that they have less disposable income on the other side, and that has an implication right here. So there is the import implication of the the kind of things that we import, and the fact that a lot of logistics are also involve the US, but more importantly is the remittances, because when the cost of living goes up there, it means people will remit less, and that means then it has a replica effect here, because then the foreign direct the foreign exchange that we gain from remittances, then it's affected. All
right, now I was in my perusal of said BPS.
Yes.
I saw that we have 4.2 foreign exchange amounting in reserve amount that what would serve us for 4 months, is it? Down from, was it 5.6 months last year? So I thought that is meant to cushion us from any shocks.
Well, yes, it's meant to caution us, but remember that this is a reserve. A reserve has to be deposited into. Yes, it cautions us, but the effect is that you are dealing with a declining export rate. You see, what we sell out there is what gives us foreign exchange, and what we get in terms of remittances, and sometimes what we borrow. But remember that our repayments are also going up. So in the event that, not in the event, in the current situation where our exports are going down, therefore it means that we are gaining less and less. Therefore the reserve is more and more in danger of depletion. You know, because you remember that we still have to pay debts, which are paid in foreign currency, the ones that we have borrowed in foreign currency. We still have to pay for goods and services, these that we are importing. When we import anything from outside the country, we pay for it mostly in dollars. And therefore, whereas we have a reserve of 4 months, you know, and there's an argument that is sufficient, if you are not gaining more, if you're not depositing, it's like you're eating from your deposit, from your deposits, and the more you're depleting them without, you know, replenishing them a bit more regularly, then you have a bit of a challenge, and that's where the challenge is. So yes, on one hand, you have a good cushion over a period of time, but remember, we are still paying. There are still things that we are incurring, particularly payment of debt, but also the importation of goods that we are using here.
So we're literally just cutting it, because I read that the recommendation is at least 4 months of reserve, and we're just at 4 point.
Yeah, no, we are just playing safe. Right now, I think it's really a matter of playing safe. The big thing is, what do we do to ensure that we have to up our exports, so that then we are exporting more and therefore getting more foreign currency. Otherwise, you have to spend your Kenya shilling to buy the foreign currency, which then means you deplete even further, resources that you would have spent otherwise for other expenses. I think the caution there is ensuring that you are not just comfortable that you have a reserve, but that you're doing something to actually improve the reserves, because as you see, it's actually on a declining rate.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's flip over and see what the other stories are in the Daily Nation. And there's that special report on the divorce rate, escalating divorce rate in the country. And Ruto warns Raila on planned protests. The country cannot hold this they cannot hold this country hostage again, and we will not allow them. That is a response from President William Ruto. And Raila expected to drop polls, quote, bombshell at Kamkunji, a quote here of Martha Karua's. The truth lies in the servers. Those doubting the whistleblower's data should demand servers be laid bare. Front page of the Business Daily. Now, just zoom in. Digital lenders protest CBK nod delay amid Google ban. Let's see what Kefa Mwiruri has to say on that. Digital lenders are protesting delays in getting operational licenses from the Central Bank of Kenya amid their blockade from Google Play Store and apathy from funders that provide cash for onward lending. Only 3.4% lenders got licenses after application. Fintech say permit hitches is derailing fundraising. De La Rue sheds 300 Nairobi jobs, fights a $1 billion shilling KRA judgment. And I think for this one, let me just quickly grab my hard copy. Banknote printer De La Rue is releasing close to 300 employees following the freeze of Kenya operations on low business as the multinational firm prepares a fresh fight to overturn a 1.1 billion shilling judgment in favor of the taxman. The global firm, which prints notes for Kenya through the local joint venture that is 40% owned by the Kenyan government, will release the last lot of workers by March. The firm said it does not expect any banknote printing order from the Central Bank of Kenya for at least the next 12 months due to low market demand. While Kenya has struggled to retain and attract multinational manufacturers, it has recently become a magnet for technology firms and financial service companies seeking a hub for a larger share of the African market. Dr. Abraham, is this something we should be worried about?
I mean, tax disputes have been a big thing around, I think the push, and I think it is part of what we'll discuss a bit in detail. There's a very big push for tax collection. And a big argument that it is that, you know, there is no, what we should be collecting, we are not collecting. But as you see, the push is largely on people who have been paying tax to pay more, you know. But here the problem is that this is just one of the cases of laying off employees because you're being pushed. You know, from a point of taxation. There are many other companies that have had to go through very difficult times, especially during COVID and in the aftermath of COVID. You know, there have been these types of disputes. They should concern us. It's only that this one is a big amount, you know, but we have had many other, you know, similar cases of a similar nature. But more important is that our drive for growth cannot be tax-driven. It is because then you are not in a space where the focus is largely on how much you are getting, you know, from the different businesses. But where is the side of the facilitation to make sure that the economy is performing, that there is a, you know, there is a space to actually make that money. I think it's something to be concerned about, and it's across board. Even if you go to about issues around VAT returns and what have you, it's a whole list of monies that have not been paid back.
All right.
Yeah.
No, but you know, this one is peculiar, given they're the ones who print our cash.
No, I get you, but they're still a business. Remember, at the end of the day, they are here for business. We pay them to print the cash. It's not like they're not a government agency, as it were. We pay them to print the cash. So it's a business that is tendered for. It's only that they have done it for quite a while. I don't think that will derail the provision of the service, because I see this as a separate conversation. But the fact that then you are laying off, it means then perhaps your production time increases, you know, but the point to take is that this is still a tax. It's still a tax dispute, as it were. It's a tax. That's why they're going back to court. But in the meantime, they're having to lay off people because they're saying we cannot afford this. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Noted. And we've also been joined in studio by the former Senator, Mandera County. Karibu sana. I am extending the apologies of the MP for Alego Songa, who missed his flight, so will not be joining us. But I'm very happy to have both of you in studio. Again, another story on the front page of the Daily Nation, I beg your pardon, of the Business Daily, that informs the conversation today is state set sights on 2.8 trillion shillings taxes from small businesses. The government is eyeing a record 2.8 trillion shillings from the micro, small and medium enterprises, raising fears that President William Ruto might deviate from his pro-small business campaign promise. I see here Kenya Power loses 2 billion shillings in tariff discount. Kenya Power lost 2.1 billion shillings in the 15% tariff discount implemented last year as other state-owned firms in the electricity sector refused to lower their charges as agreed with the government. Year ended June 2022, and SACCOs recover 455 million shillings from struggling firms. Savings and credit cooperative organizations recoveries from struggling firms slowed to 455 million shillings in the year ended June 2022 as employers continued to battle liquidity crises. All right, I will leave the Business Daily there. Let's look at the front page of the Taifa Leo, and I'll zoom in. Aya, kibomu cha Raila chatisha serikali, and then muungano wa Azimio kupitia mfichuzi anayedai kuwa mfanyikazi wa IBC waeleza jinsi ulivyoibiwa kura milioni 1.2 na kupewa Ruto, huku Raila akitarajiwa kueleza zaidi katika mkutano wa Kamkunji leo. Kenya Kwanza wamjibu Raila, and there are several quotes there, one from President William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua and Anne Waiguru. Given that Mheshimiwa Bill Okero is a professional and a politician, what do you make of the planned Kamkunji rally and the response by the government? I saw Ndindi Nyoro tell President William Ruto yesterday, wewe ni maumau hautishiki.
No, I mean, the fact is, the President William Ruto hawezi kutishika from what we have seen in the campaigns in the last in the 3 years before the elections. He has seen worse. But I think this is a story recurring all the time from Baba, that you know, the elections have been stolen and he's going to do something, he's going to do something, he's going to... of course, from the point of view of governance, really, I think there's nothing wrong in letting these people do their rallies. And so far, this president has not done bad in terms of governance issues. You know, the way he's tried to enhance the independence of the police, the judiciary, and so forth. So I think in line with that, he should let the opposition also carry out their mandate, whether it's in parliament or outside parliament. But on the other hand, I think given the sensitive nature of politics in this country and the way it has the potential to ignite, you know, confrontations and so forth, I think this Baba's team ought to really rethink whether there is merit in continuing to hammer the point that, you know, they did not lose this election when clearly they went all the way to the courts. But in my view, as a matter of fact, I don't see anything wrong with them from the constitutional point of view going out and speaking out. But I think if it comes to the streets, if it comes to violence, then I don't think even Kenyans, with the situation we are in economically and so forth, I don't think they will get a lot of support in that regard. But let us not threaten them. Let them do what they want to do, because they are within the law. If they are keeping law and order, if they are keeping peace, I think they should be allowed to do what they want to do.
Okay, that is the same position taken by the Nairobi governor, Johnson Sakaja. Although the transport CS, Kipchumba Murkomen, agrees with you, he said hata hadhani wa Kenya wako na hiyo nguvu ya maandamano given the economic realities.
Not only economic, but I think this election was a grueling one. The campaigns took 3, 4, 5 years of fighting. So I don't think Kenyans will want to go back again on this. It's been decided on the ballot. Very, you know, two heavyweights in government, the president's side and the deputy side, fighting for 5 years. I don't think that anybody wants to see it again back on the streets between Baba and Ruto.
All right. Okay, before we go on a break and start our conversation proper, let me quickly take a glance at the Star and the Standard. And I don't think we've looked at the East African though. Let us see here. Front page of the East African-Russian question in Congo conflict claims that DRC has imported European mercenaries to help it root M23 rebels out, have raised queries about commitment to a truce. Rwanda now accuses Kinshasa of preparing for war in spite of ongoing peace efforts. You will recall we had a conversation about this with co-hosting with Leila Mohammed about 2 weeks ago. You can find it on the NTV Kenya YouTube channel. Okay, front page of the Standard and the Star. Let me start with the Standard. Fresh headache for teachers as schools reopen. From challenges of CBC and junior secondary to mass recruitment and retraining of tutors, the climb is steep for stakeholders as parents rue the high cost of taking their children back to institutions that resume a normal calendar. This is on page 4, 6, and 7 of the Standard. And they also have that story on Raila Odinga's planned consultative forum. Bring it on, Ruto. There's Raila on Kamkunji rally. And Star, the front page of the Star. KCSE anomalies, MPs, experts demand probe. Inquiries by the Star lay bare secret schemes schools used for massive cheating. Revealed what U.S. think tank says of Ruto and Raila August contest. No clear winner. That is on page 2 of the Star. And on that note, I will let us take a break. And then when we come back, we get into the conversation. And this is it. Integrating carrier tax system with telcos, what Ruto's budget plan means for hustlers. And this is not the only tax proposal we saw on the front page of the Business Daily. That 2.8 trillion shillings the Kenya Kwanza administration hopes to raise from the informal sector. I'm just trying to trace. Aha, here we go. Yes, this is the draft budget 2023 budget policy statement, and this is how they hope to raise taxes. Reduction of value-added tax gap from 38.9% to 19.8% of the potential by fully rolling out electronic tax invoice management system. Reduction of corporate income tax gap from 32.2% to 30% of the potential as envisaged in the Kerry corporate plan. Integration, and this is the one that seems to have pricked a lot of people. Integration of Kerry tax system with telecommunication companies. Tax-based expansion in the informal sector. The potential taxable base of the informal sector is 2.8 trillion shillings as per the MSME survey, the document reads. And implementation of rental income tax measures by mapping rental properties. This will be achieved through enhanced field data analysis, mopping up integration of ITAX, field data analysis, integration of ITAX with National Lands Information Management System and use of a mobile app, rollout of measures at the Customs and Border Control, leveraging on technology and enhanced data analytics to enhance revenue per unit, and upscaling the technical capacity of KRA through skills, technology, and additional staffing. I will allow the experts to get into this with me on the other side of this break.